This episode of Tamarindo is sponsored by AT&T. AT&T has connectivity you can depend on, or they'll automatically make it right. That's the AT&T guarantee. Because as a mom, you always need to stay connected. AT&T stays 2 steps ahead to keep you covered. AT&T. Connecting changes everything. Subject to restrictions and exclusions, visit AT&T.com/guarantee for details.
Sonoro. Hi, Tamarindo listeners. As we wrap up our last season of episodes for the year, we want to say thank you. Thank you so much for listening, for reaching out, for being our lovely listeners. We appreciate each and every single one of you. Today's guest is Fabiola Santiago, who writes about anti-indigeneity, colorism, and classism, and the economic and political disenfranchisement that Native and Indigenous Oaxacans face both in Mexico and the U.S. She's also the founder of Mi Oaxaca, an organization that shines a light on the systemic barriers that limit Indigenous leadership and economic self-determination globally. But before that, Delsy and I reflect on 2025, a year that we know has been extremely difficult for many communities. We send you all our love, and as we are thinking of gratitude right now, we're going to ask you for a favor. If you like listening to Tamarindo and you haven't taken the time to write us a review on your favorite platform, could you help us out? It really does help us tremendously. It helps us keep going, and it helps other listeners find us. We appreciate you. Welcome to Tamarindo Podcast, hosted by me, Brenda Gonzalez, a fitness coach, political nerd, and nonprofit capacity builder.
And me, Delsy Sandoval, a Guatemalan-American licensed therapist and passionate creativity advocate. Together, we're here to uplift our community through powerful conversations with changemakers, creatives, and healers.
Each week on the pod, we talk politics, culture, and personal development. Listeners call Tamarindo the Advocacy and Self-Love Podcast. Vámonos! Let's start the show.
Hello, Tamarindo listeners. Hi, Brenda.
Hello. It's a nice, crisp, cool evening in Los Angeles.
Yes, we are coming off of like 5 straight days of 24/7 rain, which is not something usual here. And, interestingly enough, when I lived in New York, it rained like maybe once or twice every week indefinitely. It gets more rain than Seattle, actually.
What?
And I remember just thinking like, I hate the rain. Like, I wish there was never rain. And then now I'm here in LA and I'm like, this is the best thing ever. Like, it feels so good. So I hope that if you're listening and you're in LA, that you enjoyed it too. And it's a good way to start our conversation today, because I feel like these kinds of transitions, they allow your brain to kind of really sit still for a moment. I feel like when it's hot, you're ready to go, go, go. And then when it gets a little cooler, you slow down and you start kind of reflecting. And it is a time of reflection, yes, Brenda, because we are at the last 6 weeks of this year.
I can't believe it. No, I can't believe it. But in a way, this has been such a crazy year that it's not like anything's going to change January 1st, but I'm just ready for this year to end.
Yeah, I think a lot of people feel that way, honestly. 2025 has not been everyone's year. And we're sort of, when you think about those last 6 weeks, thinking about how we can ease into these last 6 weeks and make them as joyful as we possibly can. So before we get into who we interviewed today and talking about all that, I thought maybe we would take the time to chat a little bit about what we're holding on to, what we're letting go of, throwing la basura, and inviting into our lives sort of as the year wraps up. ¿Qué piensas?
Yes, I think it's perfect. And I love that, especially since this is probably our last full episode of the year. This is a perfect time to do it. So yes, take it away.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what you need first. Like in these next 6 weeks, Brenda, like what are you craving more of? What do you need right now?
The first thing that comes to mind is just comfort food. I'm really looking forward to it, especially started with the rainy weather. It made me like make soup. So I've already made a couple of soups, and the fact that it's cold out and you're extra bundled up, I think I always think about comfort food. And I'm about to spend a month in Mexico, and I just can't wait to eat. So what I need right now is to welcome all the delicious treats and tacos and dessert, and then in a little bit the holiday food, the Christmas food. Luckily, I'm not a big fan of the Thanksgiving food, and we won't really have Thanksgiving because we're going to be in Mexico. So I'm happy to skip that. So I'm looking forward to all the other Christmas foods. And I'm curious, what are you craving more of right now?
Interesting though that you say this, because it kind of reminds me of that time that I met your grandfather, if I can talk about that for a second. And your grandfather, Brenda's grandfather is this like gloriously beautiful person, like in so many ways.
Such a handsome man.
Yeah, so handsome. And so like, if you know this kind of man, this kind of old world man, just incredible to be around. And he was like, wait, you've never tried rompope? Like, how is that real life? You need to try it now. And I was like, it's like 8 a.m. It's really early, sir. I don't know. And he's like, no, you need to try rompope. And if you have some, I'll have some with you.
Oh my God, I love that.
And here I am having a full like rompope session plus café de olla with your dad and your grandpa at like 8 a.m. in Mexico. And I have to tell you, I could not hang. Like 15 minutes later, I'm drunk and I'm like super anxious and nervous from the coffee.
It's like, this is hitting all my nerve, like your nervous system is like,
the best. It was the best. And I think about it. I'm going to think about it every Christmas.
Oh, I love that. What a
shout out to your
sweet
grandpa.
Memory to share. I appreciate that.
I think what I'm craving is I feel like I'm craving an emotional release. I don't know if anybody else feels that, but this year felt really heavy. Mm-hmm. A lot about what is going on in the world, specifically with the ICE raids. And also for me, it was a year where I had a very challenging pregnancy. I was very sick before the pregnancy, during the pregnancy, horrible, scary delivery, and then like a tough postpartum healing I'm still in right now. And so it's just been probably the hardest year of my whole life, like emotionally. And I feel like for the whole year, I've been very strong. And I've been very tough and trying to like tough it out and see what happens. And right now that like it's sort of the dust has settled a little bit, I feel almost the need to have some kind of emotional release. And I'll tell you that I know it's coming because I'm reading Mary Shelley's Frankenstein again.
Yes.
I'm literally like, I'm ready to cry every second. Mm-hmm. I'm ready to cry over things that aren't worth crying for. Over. I think that's what's going on with me, is that I am in need of like emotional release. And sometimes the best way to do that is through like art.
Yes. I think I love the word desahogar, right? Like to not no longer be drowning. And I think it's definitely an accurate reflection that you've had to be strong. I mean, you didn't even have to, but you've chose to be strong against such a challenging year. So I could see how it's like a pressure cooker. Something's got to release. Yeah. And speaking of like, I know that you and I both appreciate very sad art. Have you seen All of Us Strangers?
No, I haven't seen it. Should I see it?
It is devastating. Devastating. Oh, so it was wonderful for a rainy day. I watched it and it was just like, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful film. And if you're ready to cry, this is a good film. This is a great one for that.
I'm ready. I'm going to make it happen.
Yeah, it's on Hulu. Gotta watch it soon.
I was telling you, I just watched Frankenstein, which I know you saw. And I also was watching, I'm almost done with the Juan Gabriel documentary.
Also beautiful.
So there've already been a lot of tears. Yes. Let's talk about, I just mentioned like a big win for me this year was, becoming a mom. I'm curious for you, Brenda, like what do you think maybe you didn't give yourself enough credit for? Or like, what would you say is like the big win of 2025 for you?
Oh man, I love this question, to think about like a win that you haven't given yourself enough credit for, because this is a couple things that come to mind. There is a friend of the pod, Charlie, And Charlie always celebrates wins. Charlie's a financial coach and they radiate positivity. And I know that one of the ways they do this is they celebrate their wins, big or small, you know. And I was been thinking to myself, God, you know, that's a really good practice. I should start doing that. So the thing that came to mind for this year is encuentro, like doing encuentro. So this was our retreat to Puebla, Mexico. And it was listening to my gut because so Delsy, you know, as you all know, she had a baby this year. So Delsy, you know, you had to tell me like, hey, I don't know if we could do this because I got to tell you something. I'm pregnant, you know, and it was like, it was at a point where we didn't have anybody signed up yet. So it would have made perfect sense to just pause it or not do it. But something in me just really said, you know what, you could do it again. You could do it again. And obviously it would be not as fun to have. I was sad not to have you because we had such a beautiful time before it, during it, and debriefing after it. And we earned those calluses, right? We earned together to do it together. So I was definitely heartbroken that you weren't going to be able to do it, but obviously for understandable reasons. But I'm just happy that I chose to still do it and that it all worked out. You know, it all worked out. And I think that's a win that I don't give myself enough credit for, that I just went totally having a full easy out. I just went for it anyways. So that's a win that I'm celebrating.
And it was wonderful. And you guys did amazing. And you developed this relationship with Wendy too, which, you know, is going to pay dividends forever because now she's really a friend of the pod for real.
Yes.
Yeah. And this is a tendency you have, Brenda. It's not the first time I've seen you kind of like see an obstacle and just go fully around it and like figure out what to do in like the nick of time. So, you know, I agree with that being something to celebrate. Something to celebrate.
I love that. What are you, well, I mean, I know becoming a mom, becoming a parent, but what else has been a big win that you don't give yourself enough credit for?
That's such a good question. Oh my God. I would say like the way that I've been able to show up for other people this year, like considering the year that I had, I could have fully disappeared, you know, and just been like, I'm done. And I did have those thoughts a lot. Okay. If you're someone who has escape fantasies, you know what I'm talking about. You get in your car, you drive 100 miles an hour, and no one ever hears from you again.
She's gone.
She's gone. But I didn't, you know, I really, what I did was kind of think through, like very intentionally think through, now that I have limited energy, who gets my energy? And I kind of chose like a good 5 people in my life, you know, Brenda, you included in this podcast included, of people who were worth kind of the time the energy that I had. Not that others weren't, but it was like the ultimate group of 5 that I felt were reciprocal to my life, you know, and I invested in those relationships. I invested in that time. You know, I did this show, sometimes very sick, you know, and it was worth it because it was something that I wanted for me. And so I think being able to like really think through this era of my life, who do I want in it? Who do I want to share time and energy with? It's new for me. It's new for me because I'm a people pleaser. So this is, you know, saying no gracias, no tengo tiempo has been hard for me. And it's something I'm proud of this year.
Yeah, I think that's great. And then speaking of like this, you know, this like knowing how to spend your energy, what is one thing you absolutely will not be doing before the year ends? And then you're totally at peace with that.
You know what? Overcommitting. I will not be overcommitting. I feel like every holiday season, I'm like trying to make everyone happy. I'm trying to fly here and fly there and go to everything that, you know, all the things. And I end up missing out on things I really want to do. So I'm not doing that this year. In fact, I wrote a list of all the Christmas things that I really want to do this year. And I already scheduled and calendared all of them. And they're just for my own joy. So like, for instance, I have a night where I am going to drink spiked eggnog and I'm going to read 'Twas the Night Before Christmas, right? I have another day where I just watch a Muppets Christmas Carol. That's it. Like there's these simple things that I'm doing, but they're mine. and they're not going to be time, that I meet the requirements of someone else's like holiday plans, but my own holiday plans. So I will not be overcommitting. I will not be making it to all the Christmas parties. I'm going to do my own thing this year.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
for me,
You
the
too?
thing that I've had to have peace with is I will not be renting my apartment before the year ends because
Oh
I mean, I would
no.
love to, but there's been zero interest, and I think it's just because it's right before the holidays. People are hurting with the economy, and so I've had to just accept that it'll probably be more of a Q1 thing. I think after the
Mhm.
holidays, that's when there might be some more interest. I don't know if you've noticed, because I know this is video and our listeners don't notice, but typically there's a turquoise wall behind me. And it's
Yes.
not because I've moved my desk, it's because we've painted the wall.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that
I know, I love
wall.
that wall too. But this was at the advice of our person that's helping us rent out the apartment that we should paint the walls white. So rest in peace, turquoise wall. But hopefully that'll help because that's a sacrifice that I've made. So let's make sure that happens.
Listen, I'm putting out good vibes that somebody is going to move into that apartment and that they're going to make it their home.
Yes,
There's a lot of people
please.
in need
And let it be a
of
good
housing
tenant. Let
and
it give.
a good tenant.
Yes.
Let's talk about something that is unrealistic, okay? But low key, you wish you could, like in your fantasies, Brenda. What would you like to get done before the end of the year that is not really maybe not going to happen?
Yeah. I mean, okay, here's one thing that I wanted to do more of. I wanted to this year, but it's going to be a next year thing. It should be a next year resolution thing. I want to do more heavy lifting, because I do a lot of stuff with dumbbells. I got that down, but I really want to go. For a while, a couple years ago, I did like a little bit of CrossFit. So I want to go back to that sort of style of like big lifting.
Yes.
And one thing that I did towards that is I did reach out. I did reach out to a personal trainer who specializes in that, but their rates are really, really expensive. So I do want to make the investment of like the one session with this person so that I think that's probably about what I need because I do have some foundation, but I already didn't do it, right? I already did not confirm this because I'm leaving the country for the rest of the year, basically this weekend. So that's not going to happen, and that's okay. That's going to be a next year thing. So that's, yeah. I wish I could have done it.
I did this the year that I moved back to LA from New York. That's the first thing I did was
Yes.
that I hired a trainer and I did heavy lifting, and it was a wild experience. Like you think there's no way you're ever going to lift that, and then 6 months later you're lifting that, and it is wild to see the transformation in your body and and the energy levels are out of control. Like you literally cannot sleep from the level of energy that you have. It's pretty
Yes.
remarkable.
I'm really excited
So
to get
I
into it.
look forward to hearing what you think because it's definitely difficult, but it's a good time.
Is there anything
Yeah,
you
and
wish you could have done this year?
oh my God, the same thing, Brenda. I keep telling myself, okay, I'm ready. I'm ready to go back to the gym. I'm ready to start, moving my body again. Y esto y el otro. And it just does not happen. I don't know if it's because like low key, I really don't want to.
It could
and when
be.
and when you don't want to, it's hard to make it happen. But it's also like I sense, to give myself more credit, I do sense that my body's not ready. And that's because I do these daily walks and I come home from these walks and my body's just destroyed from them. Like it's very difficult after I walk every day, just from the surgeries and all these things that happened this year. But a part of me wants to just go and maybe not do anything epic, but to just feel that independence that you feel when you're in a gym. Like it's you by yourself with your headphones doing things for your body in that time. And it's such a beautiful time and space. I want to feel that again. And so I wish that before the end of the year, I could go. Pero vamos a ver.
Yeah, and I love that idea of like listening to your body. I have definitely noticed that after a workout, like I'm hurting in ways that are not like a sore. They're not sore. They're like a sore muscle. It's more like a aches and pains of
That's what I'm talking about.
It's like, what's going on?
Yeah.
But, you know, one thing that could be a easy thing to just be in the space is stretching. That's what I've been doing a little bit lately, of just
I
rolling out
love
the
that.
mat and like stretching. That feels very attainable and feels really good. And like, okay, I did pop up, you know, a music or a podcast, and I stretched for a little bit. I'm going to start doing that tomorrow.
That feels
Exactly.
good. I recently I did do one thing is I did like a post C-section yoga online.
Mm-hmm.
And I made it through almost the entire thing, which I was surprised by because I thought I was going to stop at like 10 minutes, but I pushed through and I actually enjoyed it a lot. I didn't make it to the end, but the stretching felt so good. I realized that there were parts of my body I hadn't stretched in like a year,
Yeah.
which is crazy. It's crazy, but that's what happened this year. And so it's interesting to move in that way.
Yeah. And C-sections
Yes,
are
so
no
maybe we
jokes.
will.
C-section.
It's not a
No.
joke. Yeah, it's not a joke, friends. ¿Y qué tal something unexpected, Brenda, to kind of close our conversation here? Something
Oh,
that happened in 2025 that you did not see coming.
well, I guess this is an unexpected joy, is our family trip to Alaska. So it was early in the year, in February of this year. It feels like so long ago, but in February of this year. And it was my parents, Jeff's parents, and me and Jeff for 10 days. And so I had no expectations of Alaska. It wasn't ever like on my top 10 places to go. So everything blew me away because I had zero expectations. And also I was a little apprehensive of how's it going to be with my parents and Jeff's parents, so many parents, like whether people are going to get along or like, and everything worked out great. Like the way we spaced stuff out, I think it allowed everybody some free time, some coming together time. So it was just it really, the whole thing was an unexpected joy. We saw the Northern Lights every single day. Like just the whole thing was beautiful, and it made me want to go back to Alaska. So I think that was the most unexpected joy of 2025, is that trip.
Ay, qué lindo. Alaska is one of my favorite places that I have
Uh,
visited. And I always think about just how you can live your life just seeing bald eagles all the time and just seeing orcas all the time. And that's just your life.
yeah.
They're living in a whole different world out there.
Yes.
Yeah. A ver, for me, I have to say something unexpected happened really early in the year 2025, which was that, so in the previous year, I had lost an animal. My cat Neelix had passed away spontaneously at like 5 years old. And if you have pets, you understand, like they're your everything. They're your
Yeah.
everyday, they're your everything, and it was tragic for me. I had a very hard time with this. And so I didn't think that I was ready for another pet. I didn't think I could open my heart that soon to another animal.
Hmm.
And my sister got a kitten, and she was too busy to take care of this kitten because she was working a lot. So she asked if I could help. And then the kitten got really sick and started to not make
Oh my
it, not,
God.
not thrive.
No.
So now I have the second cat that's dying. Okay. It was tragic for me. It was like a horrible situation. And I did everything in my power to make sure that this kitten survived. And he did. And his name is Ollie. And we bonded so intensely that my sister was like, "This is crazy. This is your cat.
Hmm.
Like, he doesn't even know me. He loves you. Like, he's yours." And I ended up taking him in January as my cat. And I didn't expect to have a new animal in my life, but let me tell you, he is the light of my life. Este
So
animalito. I love
cute.
him. He's sitting right next to me right now. He is like my shadow, and he has made a very difficult year totally doable because I received so much care and love from this like living thing. So
Yay. Matraca to
that
the
was
kitties
lovely.
and the pets.
Yeah, I'll talk to the kitty.
And then to
Yes.
conclude our questions here and our reflections for the year, and I hope listeners that you jot some of these down and practice with these, because I think it's been a beautiful exercise to reflect on these. So if your year was a mood board, what would it look like?
Oh my God. I feel like it would be dark and dreary and
Mine
rainy, girl.
also.
It would be dark. It would look like an abandoned warehouse in like an alley somewhere with like layers of broken glass. I mean, it would be rough. It was a rough year. And I have to say, what was going on in the country politically, what was happening in Los Angeles with the fires and with, ICE raids and then like the National Guard stuff and everything going on with Trump. It just made life so much more difficult to navigate, lots of concerns. When you layer that with all the personal challenges I had this year, I would say it would look really moody. And then there would be like a light at the end of the tunnel and a big bright sun at the end because my son was born and he was healthy, and it's been such a beautiful experience to get to know him as a person. And he laughed for the first time last week, and it was remarkable.
God, how cute!
I'm talking cracking up, Brenda. Like he was like, hysterical.
What made him laugh?
And it was, I told him the names of the dwarfs.
Oh my
from
goodness,
Snow White.
how cute!
I was like, oh, sleepy, happy, grumpy, dopey, sneezy. I was like saying the names of the dwarfs, and for some reason he thought it was hysterical.
Oh my gosh.
And it was so pure. Like the joy that I felt was so intense and so pure. And I say pure in the sense that it reminded me of joy that I experienced as a child.
Mm-hmm.
That's the level of joy that I felt when I heard him laugh. It was so profound. And so for me, I think that would be like a nice little, end of the tunnel there on my mood board.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's so beautiful. I'm thinking about, I agree, my mood board for this year, and like so many of us, because the backdrop is so devastating. I mean, what continues to happen in our communities is just outrageous. So that colors most of the mood, right? But there are those glimmers. And I think as you were describing your son, it made me think of like my really close friend Allison becoming a mom. And anytime I get to see that little boy, it's really joyful and sweet. And she got married this year, and that was also really, really beautiful to see. This is something that she wanted for so long. So just to see her have her joy was joyful for me. So that's what comes to mind as like some really big highlights for the year. But I think too, I mean, I also really value my group of friends. They're so much fun. And recently there was a super fun Halloween party, surrealist themed. And the way my friend decorated her apartment, or I guess it's her house, she literally had a cloud. She made it a cloud out of I don't know what, and it was hanging from the ceiling, and it changed colors. And then our friends DJ'd. We're all wearing our surrealist costumes. It was so cool. Like anytime that my friends and I get together and just let go and dance and just like for a moment. Just live in the moment of the dancing. That's always so joyful, and really, I need those moments to kind of carry me through, because otherwise, what's the point, right? So this was wonderful. Yeah. What a great reflection of looking at the year in this way and just like recapping. And I love these questions. So thank you for leading us through that.
Yeah, no, and it was wonderful for me too. And I think it's a good head start for us for next year to think about what we would like these answers to be, and maybe start guiding us there.
Yes, that's very, very good. Okay, so as we shared, listeners, this will be our last full episode, but you know us, sometimes there's bonus conversations before the year ends. So stay tuned and stay subscribed to this channel. But I'm going to tell you about who we've got next. So next up, we've got Fabiola Santiago Hernandez, who is the founder and director of Mi Oaxaca, an organization committed to ensuring that Oaxaca's culture, culinary contributions to indigenous lifeways, and traditional ecological knowledge are attributed through narrative, educational, and economic programming. Mi Oaxaca shines a light on the systemic barriers that limit indigenous leadership and economic self-determination globally. So that's an important cause for Fabiola. But the reason that I learned about her is because she is also a writer, and she wrote for LA Taco an article some time ago. It went viral. This was an article that really breaks down what was wrong with designer Willy Chavarría's collaboration with Adidas, where he promoted a Guarache. You might remember this. And she wrote this really insightful article kind of calling it out, but really like, I think what Fabiola does, and you'll see it happen in real time as I'm speaking to her, it really makes all of us within Latinidad, which we already know is like so diverse, and really kind of look within and why it's even more important to kind of call out within us, because we don't want to embarrass ourselves, right? As a group, like it's one thing that there's culture vultures and there's appropriation coming from, non-Latinos, but when it's happening internally, really it forces us to reflect and do better. So that's really what Fabiola does. And so I enjoyed speaking to her. So you'll get to hear a little bit of that happening in real time. So let's hear from Fabiola now. So first, I want to welcome you, Fabiola Santiago, to Tamarindo. It's so good to spend some time with you today.
Thank you for having me here.
So I'm newly familiar with your work. I first learned about you when I saw the LA Taco article, which we'll get into in a little bit. But since then, I've been following your videos and really appreciate everything that you talk about. And after knowing a little bit more about your background, I'm even more excited for our listeners to learn about you. So I'd love to start there and tell me a little bit about Mi Oaxaca, this organization that you founded and that you direct.
Yes, Mi Oaxaca is a new organization. It actually it's a nonprofit, but the intention or like the initial idea was not to have a nonprofit. The initial idea was to have a Oaxacan restaurant and mezcaleria in the Bay Area because of the lack of, at least compared to LA, the lack of Oaxacan representation within the food industry. I moved and changed directions during the pandemic. So Mi Oaxaca was accepted into a food incubator through another nonprofit or by another nonprofit here in the Bay Area, NSF. But we didn't finish our commercial kitchen training because of shelter in place. So then I went back. My son was around 2.5 years old then. We went back and I stayed there for 6 months. And then I was starting to see the things that I was not seeing because I wasn't living there as it relates to mezcal and the mezcal industry, how much it was growing, how much the tourism industry was also growing, and how these two industries are kind of thrive off of each other by exploiting and extracting and commodifying culture. And in particular, in this case, I'm referring to mezcal. Yeah, my background is in public health. Before that, I'd been working at the intersection of public health and social change. So working on program development, on evaluation, and policy advocacy to improve the health of people, but not just through like individual behaviors, more so through what we call in public health the social determinants of health or social conditions that affect health, such as housing, food security, food access, and culturally relevant food, transportation, good workplaces, living wages, etc. And so through that lens, I'm like, well, let's bring that public health lens into Mi Oaxaca and address this cultural appropriation because it's still related to health. So that's how Mi Oaxaca was born.
Okay, so I wanted to revisit your article that you wrote that came out in LA Taco. This was already a little bit a while ago now, but the headline was "The Complicated Relationship Between Chicano Identity and Mexican Cultural Appropriation." And in this piece, you talk a little bit about, anti-indigeneity, colorism, and classism, and the economic and political disenfranchisement that Native and Indigenous Oaxacans face both in Mexico and in the U.S. So I wanted to explore that a little bit further, like for our listeners that maybe have not read this article, give us a little bit of a gist about that. And yeah.
Give a little bit of like background as well as to like where that article came from, which was kind of a reaction / reflection to the Willy Chavarría incident where he took this is just too much. It was too much. And so that was my way of like, okay, let's slow down and like break it down. Is I don't know how he identifies. Does he identify as Chicano or not? Because some people say that he doesn't. The point is, if you look at him without knowing how he identifies, he looks like a Mexican American person, somebody who was born in the U.S. with Mexican roots. Just basic.
Yeah.
And we do that. Let's not deny that we judge people based on how they look. Okay. He is a designer. He is well positioned and he has been gaining momentum. I didn't know because I don't follow that world, but that's what I know of him. And it takes this Guarache. I know that there's a little bit of debate that particular design is from a pueblo in Michoacan, but he used the word Oaxaca. And then he had it made in China. And so like the contradiction of all of that was like, no, this is exactly what's happening. Like, why are we surprised? So the article was like, okay, this person who can say I'm Chicano or Mexican American, or I have ties to Mexico, or I'm like inspired by Mexico. I mean, in his apology, he said that he's inspired by Oaxaca's resistance. It's words that sound great, that make our mind and our ears just, it pacifies us. But then the actions don't match, where it's like, well, if you love Mexico or if you love Oaxaca, why are you having it be made in China? And also, why are you using Oaxaca if the design is not from there? But anyways, there's just like a lot of questions around it. And I think that because of his status, because of how much he's growing, younger people or people who are not as going to be as critical about how we get to the places that we get to, people who are not as process oriented are just going to follow that blueprint. That's a template for how to go from the hood. I don't know if he grew up in the hood, but that's for a template for how to like advance and how to get momentum, be a big deal, be somebody in the industry. And that comes at an expense, and it comes at the expense of the peoples who have safeguarded the cultures around wearing guaraches or huipiles or drinking mezcal or all these things that are now being commodified, because at the root of them, again, decades ago, you would not be praised for wearing a guarache. Not any woman can wear a huipil in the city. What I mean by that is like, it looks good on some people, but when original people wear it, they're Indians, they're Marias, they're Oaxaquitas. I should say. Mezcal, poor indigenous people's drink, yuck. But if you drink it in the city or if you drink it in this era, oh, it's luxury. Which, what do you know? The wild agaves that we have. So it's just like this disconnection to roots. And that's what the article was about, to basically talk about that disconnection, that even though we are descendants of indigenous peoples, of Mexico, of Oaxaca, of whatever, it doesn't mean that we're actually connected. And it doesn't mean that our actions are actually paying tribute to our roots. And more than anything, that they're keeping those roots alive and healthy. Because this commodification, I mean, unless people like actually follow or like understand what's happening on the ground, like the life of the producers in general as a whole is not changing. We cover that. We have a 6-week course. It's called An Introduction to Mezcal Through Indigenous Worldviews. And we have instructors from Mexico, from Oaxaca come and here in the US as well. And yeah, the consensus and the reality is that, yes, while mezcal is growing as a category, the life of the campesino, the life of the producer is not really changing. Yes, individual lives are being, people are in better positions, but as a whole, it's not really changing. They're just more tired and doing more work because they don't have equity in a lot of those businesses. They don't have decision-making power in how this industry takes place. They're not designing and co-creating these industries. It is an industry that's already part of an alcohol industry. And so that's the type of critical thinking that I want people to have, both in our course through Mi Oaxaca, but also in this article. Like, identity is very important, but are you really being true? Are we being true to the practices, the origins, the people? And also, are we honoring the descendants that are here today of indigenous peoples? Because some folks are more disconnected, generations disconnected. And going to Oaxaca and taking a 3-month trip or a 6-month trip or living there for a year is not connection. Connection can happen wherever you are.
why is it important to you to call out, you know, other Latinos, like people within it? Why is that important to you? Why does it feel even more? I mean, because there's plenty of reasons to call out culture vultures from all kinds of different backgrounds, but why does it feel extra important to kind of be critical even within our Latinidad, which we already know is very big, right? And it's not homogeneous and there's lots of complications. But yeah, why is that important to you?
Because we're supposed to be a community, because you know, as a whole, we are othered when we look at like the whole, right? We're still othered, whether, yes, to your point, right? We don't share same experience, the same experiences and perspectives and ideas, but to the people with a lot of power, we are the other. And we're seeing that otherness play out right now, right? Especially for, I mean, there's layers to it and I guess gradients to it, but it also feels like there's a little bit of more, I don't want to use the word hope, but that's what's coming up. It's not it though. It's not hope. There's more a sense of responsibility of calling in our own community members to be like, hey, that's kind of not what we're wanting to do right now. Like, that's not it. That's actually like exploitative behavior. That is commodification. Like, why are you not using your platform to like center the people who should be talking about these things? Or why not another state in Mexico where you have ancestral roots in? Like, why are you following a trend? So, but yeah, it feels important as well. I don't know if that one necessarily answered. I just went into like my little, the other reason why I think it's important for our larger Latine, Mexican-American, Chicanx community to understand this is because, shoot, it just left me. Hold on. It's because when we say like, oh, I'm going to go back to Mexico, but everybody's really going, not everybody, but just an example, but a lot of people are just going back to Oaxaca or going to Oaxaca, and you say, and one says, I'm going to Mexico. That kind of language perpetuates this narrative that Mexicans are one people, and it plays into the larger narrative of like Mexicans are filling the blank of all the derogatory things that our people have been told about it. But whereas if we start using different language and different words and telling a gringo or another Latino or Latina person who doesn't know the geography of Mexico, oh, I'm going to Oaxaca. Where's that? That's the first question that people who don't know Mexico as much will ask. I'm like, oh, Oaxaca is a southern state in Mexico. I'm like, it's one of the states with the largest indigenous populations. And then it just like starts educating them. They're like, oh, Mexico is not just tacos and beer, or like this concept, this idea that they have. Then like, it educates them. And I think that's one way to be like, wait a minute, not all Mexicans are the same. Mexico is a nation state. It's a national identity. It's not an ethnic identity. I see there are indigenous peoples and they're not just descendants. Like, they're here, they're speaking their life, the languages, governing their pueblos with indigenous governing systems, continuing their practices. And we know that that's true because when we see videos online of our weddings or of our ceremonies, they'll be like, like, what a weird way to celebrate. And we're like, yeah, because we're from Oaxaca. We don't celebrate like El Norte or El Centro or whatever. So I think for me, it also is important for other people. I invite people to name the state of Mexico where they're from, or where their parents or grandparents are from. When we've done these trips to Oaxaca, and we do very private, very small, and it is very intended to be a culture exchange experience. When people come, I ask them, you have to introduce yourself to our hosts and tell them where you're from. Don't say, you can't, ahí no puede decir soy de México, because todos estamos en México. So, and that's represent your roots, right? Because like otherwise, if you're going to Oaxaca, using our culture, selling our culture and talking about our culture, I'm like, why are you not doing that with your culture? Like, why are you not also doing something to preserve your roots? They're not always the same. They're unique, they're different, and they also deserve to be preserved. And so, yeah, I think that's also another reason that I invite people to think outside of Mexican national identity as it relates to culture, because Mexican culture is.
Yeah. Well, you know, something that made me think about, as you just said that, is that in a way, because why are people claiming claiming Oaxaca when they're not from there, or claiming the practices when they're from there. It's because it's so rich, and the many, like I would say me, if I really think about it, as someone so far removed from indigeneity, that I don't really have a culture, to be honest. It's if I think about general Mexican culture, it's just like Catholicism and capitalism, right? So there's also a little bit of that, right? Like it's like those of us that have that are so far removed, what really is there? What's left? So it is kind of an interesting, that's what it made me think, at least a little bit.
That's where the love comes in, though. Like, I think I've heard that before. Like, and just to keep it real, there is people from the norte of Mexico have been more disconnected. Again, it's by design, and also it's geographic. There's a geographical component to it, meaning that like it was just easier, right? Oaxaca, very mountainous, and like I think that's why we love our home so much, like the actual land, because it actually protected us from being as vulnerable as we are. But right now, the Catholicism and the capitalism, to use those examples, it's what's happening, especially the capitalism. Whereas before we would make mezcal using our own like ways of like, you got my back this time, I get your back next time. Like, te ayudas con mi tapada, yo te ayudo con la tuya. Guelaguetza, te traigo un kilo de café para la boda, and then for my kids' 15 años, tú me traes eso. I'm not giving you money. There's no like Amazon wish list. There's no like registry, right? This is support and service and living outside of capitalism. But we're starting to see the capitalistic transactional components coming into our pueblos. And so I think that's the other part that like maybe people don't get, that I'm like, your coming in is contributing to that. Your coming in is contributing to indigenous erasure. If you love, you leave alone, you protect, you ask, how can I support? How can I be of help? How do I not center myself?
Well, okay, I know that we could probably talk for a long time, but I think you've given us so many things to think about. And just to close out, where can people stay connected to your work or follow you or read more of your pieces?
Yes, you can check out our website. It's mioaxaca.org. So MIOXACA.org. On our website, you will find a little bit about us, the programs or offerings. Our social medias are probably linked there. We're most active on Instagram, which is at mi.oaxaca. So mi.oaxaca. For my more unfiltered ideas and stories, it's Oaxaca the Talk. So OAXATHETALK. That's my pseudonym. Same website, oaxacathetalk.com. I have some pieces there that are not on Mi Oaxaca, because I also talk about like what it means to be a mother, what it means to be like the only daughter. I mean, a lot of Mexicanas, Latinas can relate to those things, but they are culturally relevant, but they're not like connected to food in straightforward ways. They're slightly formatted differently. But yeah, mioaxaca.com, .org or oaxacathetalk.com. Thank you.
All right. Okay, here's our last rapid fire of 2025. Okay, let's start with you, Delsy. What is your matraca?
Yes, I am just re-mentioning again, if you listened earlier, the LA rainfall, matracas, to the much needed, beautiful rain, and also to rereading Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, which I hadn't read since high school, and reading it as an adult is a totally different experience. Just the themes of loneliness and the themes around like, just because you can create something, should you create something? These kinds of questions are very interesting. So matracas to, people who wrote stories hundreds of years ago at this point, that are still relevant today.
Yeah, I have been interested in picking that back up, because I think I want to say that I picked it up once before, but it's been a very long time. I am curious though, what did you think of the movie?
I think first of all, it was very much like the book in terms of some themes. There were some differences in characters and things that I didn't recognize, but their theme of loneliness and sadness and things I thought were really good. I thought from a cinematic perspective, right? Less from like a storytelling perspective, but more so from just the costumes, the sets, the way the camera work happened. Like it was spectacular in that way. And I really loved watching it. It was great movie making. ¿Qué pensaste tú, Brenda? Because I know that you had some thoughts.
Yes, I mean, I agree that like it was beautiful to look at, and I think the costume design, like they're going to have to win some awards, like especially Elizabeth,
Yes.
like the colors and everything that they used for her was all really cool. But I agree that I think the major point of the story is to really it's supposed to be to make you feel that loneliness, right? The poor beast, if you will, that he creates is so lonely. And I felt that we needed to tell, like spend more time on this movie. Like we needed to feel the heartbreak a little bit more from the beast, because it almost like out of nowhere, it almost feels like it just switches that Victor all of a sudden just is like mad at him. Like we needed that to, like, the reason he's so heartbroken is because Victor has rejected him, right? And it just felt like the all of a sudden he's so lonely. I don't know. I needed that to be developed a little bit more to have the payoff, right? For us to really, really feel the loneliness that he feels. Yeah, the
tragedy of loneliness over time. I would agree with that. I think it's interesting. You know, Guillermo del Toro talked a little bit about how this was about not just the dialogue between him and his father, but now a dialogue between him and his kids. And so I think that we're picking up on a little bit of that, on a little bit of like the rapidity with which like Victor and the monster kind of seem to be fixing the problem, or seem to be like connecting again or reconnecting again, happened a little bit fast in the movie. Maybe there's something there, and I don't know if rapidity is a word, but
it is now.
You understand what I mean? It is,
you know, if Victor can make a human out of body parts, you can make a word.
Brenda, I just want to say my last point is that those sets were real.
Ooh.
Like they were either miniatures or they were like real sets that they created in a studio or in a parking lot. They created that boat for real, and it really did move. I mean, unbelievable. There wasn't really a lot of CGI going on, so very impressive.
That's true. I do appreciate that. That was that was refreshing. Well, my matraca, speaking of books, my matraca goes to my book club that I'm a part of. I've been part of it for about 9 to 10 years. I know, isn't that crazy? And it celebrated its 15. So we had our 15th anniversary of this book club, and it was just so great to just get together with these. Most of the women are just like, I mean, most of them, all the women. I feel self-conscious to include myself in this group, but all the women are like very accomplished, like they are lawyers or CEOs, or like just CEOs of like incredible nonprofits, or just really talented women. And it's always so fun that we get together. Often it's not very often. It's just like maybe 4 times a year, something like that. But we pick some great books, and sometimes they're not good books. And this last book, there was so much that happens at the very end. So there's a couple of us that like skimmed through the very end or didn't get through the very end. So we were having revelations like, oh my God, she's pregnant. What? That was her kid. There was a lot of that.
That's great. That's like those people who are like, oh, I'm going to read, Breakfast at Tiffany's, but instead I just watched the movie, but like the movie is nothing like the book. And now you look crazy at the book club.
Yes, it was really fun. Okay, what goes in la basura for you right now?
Tragedy to everybody, all the Guatemaltecos Chapines out there. Guatemala versus Panama. We were so close to qualifying for the World Cup. Yes, so close. Everybody was so excited. Everybody in Guate is so excited. All my family, I've got my son wearing like the attire,
gosh, how cute.
The national soccer attire. We were ready to go, and we did not make it to the World Cup, but that's not my basura, because I think like, it's sports and we're good, we have good sportsmanship. The basura is how impossible it is to watch these games. What is going on? It was like, they only have it on this Paramount Plus, and now you need to sign up here and you need to sign up there. And I feel like, especially with sports, and especially with a country that has never qualified for the World Cup, you just want everyone to watch together and have this like unified, universal moment where we all watch. But most of us couldn't watch the game, because it was like you had to get, you have to go through all these hoops. And it's just such a tragedy. And I remember a time when everyone could just turn on the TV and watch these
I
things. And
know.
so basura to that. And shout out to people who figure out like how to get around copyrights and do this. Cause I did see some people on YouTube doing like I don't know, AI animations of what was happening.
Oh my God, so funny.
People are creative, but still, basura.
Yeah, that's a bummer that people can't watch it. Well, okay, this is my basura. This is a disturbing trend that I'm not sure if you've noticed this, but I went to a comedy show on Saturday, and I've just been seeing it more and more in pop culture, but in this case, it was a comedian, just kind of like being okay with punching down and making fun of people that have autism. I just don't understand why that has become acceptable in some way. And so I'm just disturbed by seeing that happen so much. It's very strange. Jeff's theory, which I think could be something to it. I think because his theory is that because we've all evolved and know not to use retarded, that maybe folks are using autistic as like a way to get around that somehow. It's just disturbing. It's not funny. I don't understand why we're obsessed with it. And clearly it has an effect, because even, Make America Healthy Again is all about fighting this made up monster, which is people who have autism. It's just very strange. And I just think we need to stop with that. It's really, really out of control.
Yeah, I don't like that at all. And I'm sure that people who are listening, this is something that you have to pay attention to in your culture. Like when it starts to pop up, and understand where that is coming from. Like why there's this, why do we think that it's okay to do this when it hasn't been okay and it shouldn't be okay?
Yeah.
So there's something that's happening in the culture that's informing people that they can do this. And I think that's important to look at.
Yeah, it's very strange. Well, what's your inspiración?
Okay, so I went to the Academy Museum. I took my son to see the props, and he immediately fell asleep and didn't see the props. But I went and had the time of my life because they had a whole exhibit on Greta Gerwig's Barbie.
Oh my gosh, I have to go to this.
Oh my God, it was so amazing. All the sets were there. They had all of the storyboards, all of the inspiration pictures. They even had a recreation of her desk.
Oh my gosh.
There as she's like trying to figure out all the things about Barbie. And it was remarkable to see the level of detail, the skill that went into this with all the costume designers and set designers and all these people coming together to create a world, right? This Barbie world. And to see like just the level of joy that you can tell that the people who worked on this really loved what they were doing. And it re-inspired me with like movie making. It made me excited to go back down a Greta Gerwig rabbit hole when I got home, and I started like looking up everything about Little Women and Frances Ha and all that stuff again. So good. And Little Women was like really, her version was spectacular. And I started like just going down a rabbit hole of that again. So I loved it. It was super inspirational. And it made me really think about creating my own storyboard.
Very cool. Yes, yeah. I know. I think we have a filmmaker among us, and it's not me.
What about you, Brenda?
Well, you've just inspired me. I got to go check this out. I hope I haven't missed it, because this sounds fabulous. So I was celebrating Lido Pimienta, the show. That's the name that I think people are most familiar with. But this show was curated by Angelica Negron, who's a Puerto Rican composer and multi-instrumentalist who actually played fruit. Like she had synthesizers connected to like a banana and a pineapple. Wow. And then, but what really stood out for me was Darian Donovan Thomas, who is a Blaxican, and he composed or arranged it wasn't Juan Gabriel, it was Vicente Fernandez song. And it was just really awesome. And his pronouns are he, but he wore a dress. And had his hair in pigtails, and it was just so not something that you normally see at the Phil, and it was his performance and his arrangement of Vicente Fernandez was just so unique and beautiful. It was just a great evening of high art. So I loved it.
I love that. Yeah, I did actually heard about this show. One of my friends, Erika, went. And So I was aware that it was happening. I'm glad that you were able to see it.
Yes, it was wonderful. All right. Well, with that, we've had a fabulous last episode of the year. It's been a good year, y'all. Please stay tuned. Watch out for more episodes to come. Thank you so much, Delsy. This was a great, fabulous year of Tamarindo. And if I don't see you, happy holidays.
Happy holidays. Thank you for this year, Brenda. It's been wonderful. Thank you, listeners, for staying with us. We care about you. Y hasta el próximo.
Yes. Ponte un suéter. Bye.
Bye.
Tamarindo Podcast is hosted by Brenda Gonzalez and Delsy Sandoval. We're also the show's executive producers. Jeff Ricards wrote our theme song, and Sonoro Media's Karina Riverroll provides production support. If you like what you hear, please take a few minutes to rate and review Tamarindo Podcast or share this episode with a friend. It really helps us grow. To get in touch with us, find us at tamarindopodcast.com. Thank you for listening.
There's nothing better than feeling like someone has your back, that things are going to get done without you even having to ask. Like when your partner fills up the gas tank on the car you share, or takes the dog out when you're working late. The AT&T guarantee is all about having your back. Staying connected matters. That's why AT&T has connectivity you can depend on, or they'll automatically make it right. That's the AT&T guarantee. Subject to restrictions and exclusions, visit AT&T.com/guarantee for details.